Get ready. Helena Hustle is now live. Here, we will showcase successful leaders in business, athletics, healthcare, and all things that make Helena a great place to live. Join Dr. Daniel Bridge, owner of Endurance Chiropractic, as he searches out amazing individuals who are making a tremendous difference in this place we call home. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired with the Helena Hustle podcast.
Welcome to Helena Hustle. This morning, I'm happy to have this conversation with Stephanie Scott. She owns Snapology franchise here. And I'm really excited for this conversation, Stephanie, because I don't know a whole lot about you or your business. And so this is going to be completely authentic and new and fresh. And that's the point of this podcast, is to catch these conversations that we have that are interesting and insightful. So as I told you, one way that I do like to start out the podcast is with two truths and a lie. So are you ready with those?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so I am originally from Canada. I've ran a full marathon and I've gone skydiving.
Okay. I'm going to say that, you have not gone skydiving.
Wow, that's really good. Yes, I'm
Yes?
definitely afraid of heights.
Okay.
I never would.
No, me and my wife have this argument a lot. I would love to. She said there's no amount of money on earth that could get her to do that. And I figure everyone's got their price. What would your price be to jump out of a plane?
I don't know if I could put a number on that.
$100,000?
I don't know.
No?
I think it'd have to be about $1 million.
You'd have to think
really.
about it, huh? Okay. So where in Canada are you from?
I was born in Guelph, Ontario, outside of Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved to Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay.
And my mom was American from Minnesota, and my dad was from Canada.
Okay.
And we eventually made our way back to the States when I was going into first grade.
Okay. Very cool.
So.
And so before first grade, was it Edmonton where you grew up?
Yeah, pretty
Great.
much, yeah.
My dad's, so similar story for me. My dad's from Alberta. He's from Raymond,
Oh, nice.
if you know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom's from the U.S. as well. So cool.
Oh, cool.
And then how was your marathon?
Pretty good. I've done the Portland Marathon twice, actually.
Okay.
The last time I did it, though, was a long time ago. It was about 12 years ago.
Uh-huh.
It's one of those things I've been meaning to get back into.
Cool.
And haven't yet. But
Good for you. That's awesome. And we already got started. You telling us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, but could you tell us a little bit about yourself, hobbies, interests, background, family, that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I moved over to Helena about 10 years ago from Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
We moved down to Spokane, Washington from Edmonton. That was where I pretty much grew up from first grade all the way through high school. I went to Washington State University, where I met my ex-husband, and we had our children in Spokane and started our careers there.
How did you like Spokane?
It was a great place to grow up. I still like to go back and visit, but it really did get to a point where we were ready to leave. My ex-husband's from Montana, so he had always wanted to come back, and I was ready.
Yeah.
It just got too busy. The crime got too much out of control. And
I'm from Shelby. That's where I grew up.
Oh, nice.
And I was working there for 5 years. I had a clinic in Cutbank and in Chester, and life was great. But ultimately, my wife and I knew we wanted to move to a bigger city and start up our own practice just in one location. And Spokane was actually really high on our list. And I think we would have really liked it. But that was one of the things that say, hey, make sure you live above this street, because anywhere south of there or north of there, the crime's really bad. But yeah, we picked Helena, and we just couldn't be happier. We really like it here.
Yeah, I really do too. Yeah, we kind of ended up here just because of jobs.
Okay.
My second career, my second degree, I ended up going back to school and getting a master's in teaching.
What was your first career?
My first career was working in the corporate world, trying to, climb the corporate ladder with an undergrad in business and management operations.
Okay.
And I was working for a Starbucks distribution company in Spokane as their HR manager. and they had to cut back and moved my job to Seattle. Said I could have my job if I wanted to move to Seattle,
Wow.
but we didn't want
Sure.
to do that. So it just kind of opened an opportunity for me to go back to school and
you got your
try out
master's
teaching.
in education, did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, great. And where did you teach?
I started out at Radley Elementary out in East Helena.
Okay.
So I worked out in the East Helena district for about 7 years.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And then that sounds like the point in the story where you started doing what you're doing now. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, like a lot of people, COVID is where I decided to make a change. I was at home trying to teach kids with special needs online. The district was really just requiring way too much out of us, more than they had required prior to COVID. I became a single mom.
Sorry to hear that.
And supporting my children on a teacher's salary was almost near to impossible. All of our kids are very involved in sports. They play sports year round, and I didn't want to have to pull them from anything that they enjoy doing.
How old are your kids?
I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old boys, and then I have a 19-year-old daughter.
Okay.
So my boys are still here in Helena with me. My daughter goes to Western Washington University in Bellingham.
Oh, okay.
I just got to go over there and visit her. It
Oh,
was
good.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, I was just burnt out. I was feeling very overworked and underpaid. I had 40 children on my caseload in special ed that I was responsible for. And nothing was going to change. And I was at home, and Snapology came across on social media, actually.
Were you familiar with them before that?
No, I wasn't at all. I had been, kind of toying around with the idea of starting a business, but I didn't know what I wanted to start. And when I saw that, I got really excited and did a lot of research on it, and just started talking to headquarters about it and what it involved. I researched it for about 6 months. I wanted, being an educator, I wanted to make sure that the curriculum was really good, that everything they were saying was, that it was something I was going to be proud of, and I was going to be able to represent it well.
Yeah. So could you tell us a little bit about Snapology? I know it has something to do with Legos mixed with education for children. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much. So it's all STEAM based.
Okay.
For those that don't know, science, technology, engineering, art, and math. It used to be STEM, and now we've added the A for art in there. So, and we're very Lego heavy. Yes. We teach our STEAM skills using a Lego build that we do. And we also incorporate a lot of visuals. We might be building a windmill and learning about solar power energy. And then we'll hook it up to a motor, and they'll get to watch it move.
Wow.
I'm a big fan of hands-on learning, visual learning.
Me too.
That's always worked the best for me and for students in the past. And so everything that we do has a connection, a background knowledge, and then the building, and then they get to actually see the skill that they're learning work.
I definitely want to learn more about that, but I guess backtracking just a little bit, that had to have been scary to have a job with consistent hours, consistent pay, and then move to do something entrepreneurial where it's all on you, because as you told me, Snapology is a franchise. Your franchise, you have this area. So what went into that decision? Was that scary for you? Could you tell me about that?
Yeah, very scary. In fact, the first year I kept my teaching job. I actually moved to Capitol High and taught special ed at Capitol High for my first year that I was in business. But I realized at the end of the school year that I wasn't going to be able to grow this business if I were trying to do both.
I see.
And so I did decide to step down from teaching. And I think it just, some of it was I turned 40 and it was, now or never.
Yeah.
You got to do this. And just everything I had learned from business school, you have to dive right in, and you have to take big sacrifices to make big gains.
Yeah.
And I've wanted to own a business since I was in high school. When I was in high school, I was in DECA, which is a business leadership educational club. And I took marketing classes. You know, I was the only sophomore in the marketing classes. I've always been in sales. I've always been in customer service of some sort. And I just kind of took a leap of faith, really.
That's great. That kind of reminds me a little bit of my experience. So when I had my my 2 clinics, one in Chester, one in Cut Bank, I would go back and forth. Mondays and Wednesdays, I'd be in Chester, and Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'd be in Cut Bank. And it was, like I said, I was very happy. I really loved my patients. I loved the communities that I was in. We lived in Shelby, so I was close to my parents, and my kids got to see them a lot. But I'd always had the dream of doing what I'm doing right here, right now. And so to go to work every day and not be working towards that goal, there was always a little bit of a pit in my stomach of that stress. And I would hear quotes of people saying, now's the time, you got to do it. And I talked to some friends. I have several friends that are chiropractors that were very close. One calls me Bridgie. He said, Bridgie, you're betting on yourself. You're not gonna lose. Because I thought, oh, what if I come? I take out a lease. I take out a loan. I get my equipment, and it doesn't work out. And that's his point: is you're betting on yourself. So I loved that. My other friend, who I was saying, hey, when do you know you're ready to go out on your own? He said, you never will. It's kind of like jumping out of a plane and building your parachute on the way down. And those 2 things just stuck out with me, and they helped me in my transition. And so good for you, you know, you had the sure job, but you realized I can't build this with the amount of time that I'm committing to this current job. And then you jumped in with both feet.
Yeah. And I also, you know, speaking of like support, had some good friends. My dad was real encouraging, pushing me to do it. But more than not, there was a lot of, you know, negative.
Yeah, you get a lot of that. Are you sure?
Attitudes towards
COVID.
it.
You got a sure thing. What if it doesn't work out? Yeah. People putting that doubt into your ear, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of things I had to just not listen.
So how did you get past that?
I think I just, I really give my mom a lot of credit. She died 16 years ago of asbestos lung cancer. Oh, and my whole life, she was just my advocate. She pushed me to be successful in school. You know, I struggled when I was younger in school with reading comprehension. And she worked countless hours with me to make sure I would go to college, that I would make something of myself. And so she really was in the back of my mind saying, you can do this, Stephanie.
That's awesome.
You got this. I know you can.
Yeah, we all need that.
Yeah.
That's sweet. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Snapology. Who are your customers? You've been doing this since 2020, right? And so what's the business structure like?
Well, so I'm a mobile business. I don't have a location. I build partnerships with other organizations that are already working with children, and then we bring our programs to your location. I own the territory of Helena to Bozeman to Butte, and then everything in between. Okay. And so some of my current partnerships are in Townsend. Actually, there's a group called Stoke out in Townsend who's brought me in. And down in Bozeman, I'm partnered with the YMCA, with Bozeman Parks and Rec, with Kids Link, which is the after-school program ran through United Way. I haven't really even touched Butte yet. I haven't really had the time yet to touch Butte, but that's
untapped market
on my list, to get down there. And then in Helena, I partnered up with Sleeping Giant and Flying Giant, and we run out of school break camps there. So the kids get to go bowling, and they get to go to Flying Giant, and then they also get to do our Snapology STEAM activities. And this year, I've newly partnered with Stone Tree Climbing Center, the indoor climbing center here in town, and Cottonwood Learning Center, which is another private school downtown. And with Helena Parks and Rec, they don't have any facilities to rent out, but I'm going to give it a try at Lockheed Park because they have a really good covered up area there in case the weather goes bad.
Oh, nice.
I really, when I was a teacher, and I still really like to incorporate movement as well, not just sitting and building Legos, but we're doing other things as well. Keep our brains fresh and going.
Yeah. What's been one of your favorite like projects that you've done with kids where maybe you've seen the light bulb moment for them understanding a difficult concept?
I think, that's hard because we have so many good ones. We have over 1,500 hours of curriculum, over 80 programs. But I do think that the combat robots is my favorite because it's very inquiry-based learning, problem solving. We follow the engineering design process throughout the whole program, and they're remote controlled robots, and the kids start with a base model, but then throughout the program they modify their model to complete different types of challenges. So the only directions we really give them are with the base model. So after that, I love that type of problem solving, inquiry based, where the teacher's more of a facilitator, where you're kind of standing back and letting the kids go and letting them figure it out.
I know I would have loved that. Absolutely. When you talk about, your reading comprehension when you're a kid and working past that and through that, for me, as a student sitting in a lecture class where I was just being talked to, my attention, even if I was trying, I said, okay, today I'm going to try hard, I'm going to focus, and it was gone. But to have hands-on and to use creativity, I just know that's something that I would have loved. Probably would still love it. They need to make this for adults, but that sounds really neat.
Yeah. And I was, the same way. In high school, the only AP class I ever took was biology, because that teacher made it so interesting and it was hands-on all the time. And so I'm the same kind of learner.
Very neat. So your clients are not necessarily the kids themselves, but these organizations. Is that right?
Yeah, organizations and parents. Parents are my customers. They're the ones who are signing their kids up for our programs. But some of my partners, there's a couple different ways that we do payments. And so some of my customers get grant money, like out in Townsend. They apply for grant money, and so then they pay me to run the programs, and so they're free for the kids out in Townsend. Other places, I charge the families to privately pay, like Belgrade School District. That's what they do, is we charge the families to join the classes.
And so if somebody listening to this wanted to get their kids involved in this type of an educational setting, would they go through one of these organizations you're already with, or would they go through you directly?
Well, I guess it just depends on where they're at and what they're involved in. The kids that are already in the Kids Link program in Bozeman, they also use grant money, so they just automatically get it if they're already part of the Kids Link program. And the same out in Townsend, it's through the Stoke group out in Townsend. It's a wonderful nonprofit out there. It has a board of about 5 adults who are close to retirement. They use a building out there called The Lodge that one of the board members owns, and they're just wanting to provide this for the community in Townsend. Neat. And the Stoke stands for Science, Technology, Outdoor Education, Knowledge, and Entrepreneurship.
Wow.
So it's a great organization. But as far as summer camps, because I'm gearing up for a summer camp season, families would go to my website to register privately for those programs. And my website is just helena.snapology.com. And when you go to my website, there's a schedule link, and it's pretty easy to follow. You just find which location you want to participate in.
Is that the best way for someone to get in touch with you, helena.snapology.com?
Yeah, I would say so. I do have Facebook and Instagram as well, and I try to keep up on posting events on there. But to sign up for a program, you would go to the website.
I see. Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming on. This has been very educational. Something that I definitely would love my kids to be involved in. Do you have any other final words before we sign off?
Just that something I'm working on right now and I hope to get up and running is I would like to really be able to serve low-income students across central Montana, kiddos that, don't really have the money to do our programs and pay privately. And I would love to start doing girl-only groups. Girls are very much still underrepresented in the STEAM fields. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, our society does still target boys towards those fields. And so I'm currently working on starting up a nonprofit where I can apply for grant money to be able to provide these programs for free in the community.
That's exciting.
And if that happens, then Helena District 2 would let us in for after-school enrichment.
Oh, good.
So
good.
I'm hoping to get that up and running. I'm still working on the logistics of all of that.
I don't doubt that you're going to be able to do that. I can just tell you're a go-getter. You've taken on this exciting task, and so I think you're going to crush it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks so much, Stephanie. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Helena Hustle podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Once again, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Helena Hustle podcast.